All right, so good day again, everyone. So I'll be recording another set of problems, focusing on shear stress, punching shear stress, and some bearing stress. So for this first problem is a more complex problem involving composite bodies as well as determining the required diameters. So based on the figure, there is a load that has been applied to the composite body. But do take note, uh, lang sabi dito that the 4 kilonewton acts on member ABD. So if you took the free body diagram of ECD, the 4 kilonewtons will not be present. No, so that's one thing to note. And then we are required to determine the diameters for pins at point D and point C. So the allowable shear stress is already given, and another note to check is that the pin at C is subjected to double shear while the pin at D is subjected to single shear. No, so we are required to determine their diameters. So I already write the requireds. No. So as for our first step, we already determine what are the unknowns, no, for this uh problem. Second is to draw the free body diagram for the members. So I draw here the FBD of ABD, as you can see. So since we are required to determine the diameter at point D, so it means we need to get dy and dx. No? But as you can see, this free body diagram has four unknowns. No? We have four unknowns. So how do we determine the forces? So since this is a composite body, this will be a lot more complex than on your regular composite body. So I suggest to take the moment at point A. Since taking moments will eliminate some unknowns, some variables, and point A will, or the forces at point A will not be useful for this type of problem. So if we took the moment at point A is equal to 0, so what will be the forces that will moment at point A? So we have the x component of FBC. No? So it will rotate counterclockwise. So we have negative FB. Vertical component is 1 over square root of 2. Distance is 1.5. dy will pass through at point A. So dx will rotate clockwise. So that's dx, and the distance is 3. And then the 4 kilonewtons will also rotate, but this time it's x component only. So it will rotate counterclockwise. So negative 4 cosine 40, distance 3 meters equal to 0. So let's take this as our equation 1. So as you can see, we have derived an equation involving FB and dx. Okay. So I think that's okay for now. No? So let's try to check upon FBD if we can derive another equation that will involve FB and dx. No? So take note, no? Nag-moment tayo sa point A since point A or forces at point A will not be useful for this problem. No? And then here's the free body diagram for ECD. So we need to determine what equation are we gonna use for this free body diagram. So it must involve again BC and DX. So I think we could use summation of forces along x-axis for this. free body diagram. So as you can see, we have FBC to the right, so that will be positive. So FBC, horizontal components 1 over square root of 2. And then we have dx as assumed to the left, so negative dx equal to 0. So this is our equation 2. So fortunately, since we took the time to analyze the free body diagrams, we are able to generate equations that involves FPC and dx. So with this, we could establish their values so we can eliminate more variables. No? So involving FBC and dx, we have equation 1. So I think let's organize our equations. So for equation 1, we have negative. So for equation 1, we have negative. So to establish equation 1 and equation 2, so we have simplifying equation 1, we have negative 1.061 FBC plus 3 dx, and then we could transpose the constant on the other side. So the value of that constant is 9.193. So this is our equation 1. So for equation 2, so we have FBC. So I'm gonna write this here, 0.07 FBC minus dx equal to 0. So we could set FBC as our x and then dx as our y values. And then we can use our calculators mode 5.1 or the equation function on your calculators, or you can use other methods to determine the values of FBC and dx. So in my case, I will use my calculator. So the value for FBC is 8.673 kilonewtons. And then for dx, the value is 6.132 kilonewtons. So we have an initial values of forces here. So we could get back on our free body diagrams. So take note again, we are required to determine the diameter at point D and the diameter at point C. Okay. So I think we could get the diameter at point C since we already determined FBC. So the problem here is to determine the forces in point D. So since we have already gotten FBC, so we could use this free body diagram to determine the other two, or to determine dy. So we'll also already gotten dx. So to determine dy, we could take the moment at point E equal to 0. No? So the forces will be the vertical component of FBC So this will rotate clockwise. FBC will be rotating clockwise, yeah. So our FBC is 8.67. Vertical component is 1 over square root of 2. Distance is 1. And then we have dy rotating clockwise with a distance of 2.5. So that is equal to 0. So we could determine dy. So we will get a negative value here. Negative 2.45. Kilonewtons, or the direction will be 2.45 kilonewton upward. So we finally gotten the required forces for each pins, so we could proceed in determining the required diameter. So for the diameter at pin C, which is subjected to double shear, so the allowable stress is 40 megapascal, equals for the shear force at pin C, which is FBC. FBC equal to 8.673. So we could multiply this to 1,000 for it to become newtons over over 2, since pin at C is subjected to double shear, times the area diameter squared. So to determine the diameter at pin C, so we can use our Shipshell function. So DC will be equal to so DC will be equal to 11.749 millimeters, or roughly 12 millimeters. And then for the pin at D, so the allowable shear stress is the same. The shear force at pin D will be established using getting the resultant of dx and dy. So the value of our dy is equal to 2.45 kilonewtons squared. So we could multiply this to 1,000 over the area or the diameter or for the circle. So pi over for the in so to determine so we could use our calculators again to determine the value for the diameter at point P. So the diameter at pin D is equal to 14.49 or 49.5 millimeters or roughly 15 millimeters. Okay. So another set of example for shear stress involving composite bodies of structures. All right. So for the next problem, this is a combination of axial stress and shear stress. No. So a design problem since we need to determine a minimum value for a dimension. So this is a truss made from aguillo, type of wood used in construction. No, so there's a vertical load applied at the top of the truss, and we are given different sets of allowable stresses for the grade of wood. So compression stress parallel to the grain, a compression stress perpendicular to the grain, and a shear stress parallel to the grain. So ano nga ba yung grain na yan? So grain is a similar thing like sa hair. So kumbaga para siyang kasi ang wood is made up of small fibers, no? So kung ito yung wood natin, so ito yung grains niya, no? Ito yung grains ng wood and dito din ito naman yung grains ng wood. So if a force is applied perpendicular to the grain, so ito yung gagamitin natin. If a force is applied parallel to the grain, eto naman yung gagamitin natin. So, similar lang din dito sa shear stress, parallel to the grain. Pero, later on, makikita ninyo kung saan nga ba or kung kailan nga ba siya dapat gamitin. So, for now, we need to determine the actual stress of the member AC, no? And then the minimum value for X and Y here. So, take note na the thickness of our wood is 100 millimeters since yung kapal nung ginamit na wood is 100 millimeters. So, so anyway, so ito yun. So we need to determine the axial stresses. So for us to determine the axial stress, of course, kailangan makuha muna natin yung kanyang axial force. No? So since this is a truss, we can use method of joints. No? It will be easier rather than using method of sections. No? So kunin muna natin yun. So we can consider the joint C for determining AB. So we could use summation of forces along Y first. So you have negative 20 since FAB and FBC is symmetrical, most likely FBC is equal to FAB. So we can use -2 times FAB sine 30 equal to 0. So solving for FAB, so we have 20. So FAB is equal to 20. 20 kilonewtons. So since this will be negative, so it means this is 20 kilonewtons compression. So we assume FAB and FBC as tension, but in reality they are in compression. No? So since we have FAB, we could easily determine the axial stress. So axial stress of AB. Oops, I'm sorry, it's not FAB. FAC rather. Yeah. So the stress at AC is equal to the force. The actual stress is 20. So let's multiply it by 1,000. And then the area for uh, cross-sectional area of FAC is 150 by 100 millimeters. So our stress at AC is equal to 1.33 megapascal compressive stress. Okay. So just as easy like that. No? And then let's determine the minimum value for X and Y. So investigating this figure, we know that FAC is here, or the force is residing in this member, compressively going to joint A. So we could further analyze this figure if we look this force by its component. No? So this force has two components, the Fx and the Fy. So let's check first the Fx. So if FACX is equal to the force AC cosine 30, so tatama siya doon sa part ng nung Y natin. So ito ngayon yun. So this is the Y, and then this is the thickness of the member. No? So this is the member. So the grains are here. No? And they are being subjected to compression. So for us to determine the minimum value of Y, so we could use the value of the compression stress parallel to the grain. Since the force involved in this figure is parallel to the grain. So that will be 13.2 megapascal. So the force involved is FACX. So cosine 30. And then the area affected by this force is this area, which is a rectangular in shape. So that is 100 times y. So solving for y, so y is 13.12 millimeters. And then for the minimum value of x naman, so if we could see this, so the x, no? So the possibility here is the compression might might resist FAC FACX, but can be sheared along this uh, area, so which is also equal to x. So if we investigate that area, so magiging itsura niya naman will be like this. So this is the x, and then this is the thickness of the member. So these are the grains. These are the grains of the member. And the force that will pass through in this area is also FACX. So we have to use the shear stress parallel to the grain, which is equal to 2.32 megapascal. So 2.32 megapascal is equal to FACX, similar from the previous cosine 30 over the area that will resist 100 times x. So the x value is equal to the minimum value of x must be equal to 74.66 millimeters. So this is type of problem that you need to visualize and to understand, since there are different variables given to us, no? So you have to be familiar with the terms such as this grain, perpendicular to the grain, parallel to the grain, so on and so forth. Okay, so this time I'll be discussing a sample problem involving punching shear. No. So there's a lot of difference in between your normal average shear force and a punching shear. So I'll discuss what will happen when a punching shear is involved. So for this problem, it is stated that a hydraulic punch press is used to punch a slot. So based from the plate, so a puncher is used to punch that plate. So that slot, no, is 0.50 inches thick. And if the plate shears at a stress of 30 KSI, so we're given an allowable stress, this means this is a design problem involving punching shear. So we have to determine the minimum force P required to punch the slot. So for us to easily analyze what is punching shear, no, so I'll draw, no, I already draw the slab. So we are required, no, to determine P. So this is the picture, or this is a drawing of the slab. So based from the puncher, uh force P is already applied on the slab. So the question here is, where will be the shear force happens. So since that slug comes from the plate, so it means the force P that was applied by the punch already passed through to the plate. So ibig sabihin, yung shear force na nag-resist from the slug or from the punch applies here at the edge, no, or at the surface area of the slug. So to further elaborate this, this punching P was resisted by the shear that was wrapped around along the surface area of the slug, no? So that's the difference between the average shear stress and punching shear stress. We could also utilize the normal stress and the bearing stress, no? So normal stress is a concentrated load over a cross-sectional area, while bearing stress is an area versus an area of effect. So in terms of punching shear, that there are similar things, no, involving those forces. So eto, no, the problem here is yung shear force mo ang dami, nakapalibot, no? So if we took the summation of forces along y-axis, no, we could see that P, negative P plus V is equal to 0, or P is equal to the shear force, no? So kung naalala niyo sa bolt evenly distributed, sometimes P is equal to V over 4 or V is equal to P over 4, no? So dito yung V mo nakapalibot kahit mukha siyang marami, no? So the goal here is to determine ano yung area kung saan siya nakapatong. So for this, we have the similar formula for shear stress. So we have shear is equal to shear force over area. No? So we know that our allowable shear stress is equal to 30 ASI, and then our shear force is equal to P. So the area here is the challenge, no? So I hope okay yung foundation nyo of solid geometry. So this is a combination of a rectangular area and a cylindrical surface area. So itong slug na ito, so I'll just erase this shear forces muna para ma-visualize nyo yung surface area. So yung surface area, ito yung parang pinakabalat ng slug. So for us to determine the surface area, we could divide this slug into two shapes. So pwede natin kunin yung surface area nitong dalawang rectangle from this side and yung side sa kabila. Yan. Pwede natin kunin yan. So that rectangle has 3 inches in length and a height of 0.55. No? So kumbaga yung pinaka-height ng slug or yung pinaka-thickness ng slug is 0.5. So the area ng dalawang rectangle is equal to 2 since dalawa, 0.5 inch times 3. So, pero sa rectangle pa lang yan. So we need to consider ngayon yung area nitong dalawang bilog na to. Kailangan natin i-consider yung area na yan. So actually, pwede mong pagsamahin yung dalawang bilog na yan to form a cylinder, no? Pwede mo siyang pagsamahin para makabuo ka ng isang cylinder. Kumbaga, ito yun. yung pinagdikit natin. Kasi nakuha na natin yung nasa gilid. So, yun nga, sana naalala nyo pa, the surface area of the cylinder is actually equal to 2 pi r times the height. So, question, ano yung magiging radius natin dito? Uh, since this rectangle, no, ito, is equal to 0.5, that is equal to the diameter ng circle. So, this diameter na to or yung radius na to is equal to 0.75 over 2. So, yung radius na yan, nanggaling siya dun sa thickness or dun sa width ng slug which is 0.75 over 2. So, to determine the surface area of the cylinder, so that's 2 pi 0.75 over 2 times yung height which is also equal to 0.50. So, the surface area of the cylinder is equal to 1.78 1.178 inches squared. So, ipa-plus lang ngayon natin yan dito. So, 1.178. So, finally, we can solve for P. So, P is equal to 125.34 kips. Since 30 is KSI and then this is inches. So that's how you determine or that's how you analyze punching shear. Okay, so for the last problem in this set, so we'll be analyzing different types of stress happening all at once. No? So here's a figure with a support plate. Here's a figure involving a support plate and rivet, no, punched through the support plate. No? So different specifications of the figure is given, starting with the diameter of the solid rod, the hole in the support plate, as well as the thickness of the plate, the diameter of the rod head, and the thickness of the head. So if the normal stress that was produced by the rod is equal to 225 megapascals, so we have to determine the following. So letter A, we have to determine the bearing stress acting between the support plate and the rod head. So let's deal with this first. So we were asked to determine the bearing stress between the support plate and the rod head. So if we look carefully in the figure, we could see that this is the rod head, and later on the rod head will be placed in the support plate. So if this rod is being pulled to the left, of course, there will be some bearing stress that will occur in between the rod head and the support plate. No, so we have to determine what is this bearing stress. No, so for this question, let's analyze this. So if we look on another angle, this will be the image of the rod head and the support plate. So the black figure here is the rod head, while this orange figure here is the support plate. No? So as you can see, the rod head will bear against the support plate, no? So the bearing area will be this. So it is the same as our previous problem during lecture in which we analyze tube, no? So we have to determine this area of the tube, no? So there will be no challenges in this part since the outer diameter is given and the inner diameter is already given. So it's more on the analysis part on how you will visualize what will happen to the rod head if it bears on the support plate and what area of contact will be involved when analyzing this figure. So for our bearing stress is equal to force over area. So area can be computed. The question here is what will be the force that will produce the bearing stress. So going back to the problem, the normal stress produced in the rod by load P is equal to 225 megapascal. So we could maximize this value of normal stress to determine what was the load P that is being used to produce this kind of stress. So remember that force is equal to stress times the area, no? So we're given a value of stress equal to 225 megapascal. So this is produced in the rod by the load P. So it means we have to consider the cross-sectional area of the rod, in which case the cross-sectional area of the rod is circular in shape and has a diameter of D, which is equal to 15 millimeters. So to determine the force, so that's stress times area, 15 squared. So this is in megapascal. This is in millimeters squared. So we'll be expecting a value of, or a unit of newtons. So this is 39,760.78 newtons. So this force will be used later on. So you might as well store your data in your calculator. So going back to our formula, so the load is 39,760.78 and then over the area of the annulus or the tube. So that's pi over 4, outer diameter 20 squared minus, outer diameter 30 squared minus 20 squared. So bearing stress between the rod head and the support plate is equal to 101.25 megapascal. So as you can see, the analysis is not that complex or complicated. The challenge here is to determine the area of contact and of course understanding the problem statement. So that's for letter A, the bearing stress between the plate and the rod head. So for letter B, you have to determine the average stress produced in the rod head. So as you can see, this is the rod head. No? So what will be the shearing stress that will occur in the rod head? So as you can see here, the rod, here the rod is actually part of the rod head. So if in case the support plate is stronger than the material for the rod, there is a tendency that if you pull the rod head to the left, a shearing stress will occur on this part. Oops. So shearing force will be on the opposite direction. No? A shearing force will be produced on the rod head itself, causing the rod to slip outside of the rod head. So to further analyze this action, here's a diagram that I already pre-drawn. No? So once this rod head is pulled, once this rod is pulled downwards with a P, so we have this value that we got earlier. So the tendency is this part of the rod will be subjected to shear. So this will counteract the force that was produced in the rod. So as you can see, this is another example of a punching shear. So if I will be able to isolate this part of the rod head, so the free body diagram will be like this. So this is the part that will be sheared off in the rod head. So the shear is placed around uh, this part. So this is the area P, this is the shear force B. So if we take the summation of forces along y is equal to 0, you could see that V is equal to P. No? So again, from our previous example, shearing stress or punching shear is similar to our average normal stress, which is equal to shear force over area. So V is equal to 39,760.78, while the area, so again we'll consider the area of a small or the surface area of a small cylinder, which is equal to 2 pi r times h. No? So the radius of this rod was 15 millimeters. So that's 2 pi. So radius is 15 over 2. And this height is equal to the thickness of the rod head. So the thickness of the rod head mentioned was 10 millimeters. So again, this is a straightforward solution for this kind of problem. However, you have to identify the visualization of the problem. How will the shear stress will be produced in the rod head? So computing for the shear stress, so we got 84.38 megapascals. No? So a very straightforward solution. No? So the only problem again is the visualization of the stress itself. And then lastly, for letter C, the punching shear produced in the support plate by the rod head. So this is the vice versa of the situation that happens in letter B. So this time, the material in the rod head is much stronger than the support plate, that this rod head will pass through, no, to the support plate. So we have to determine what will be the punching shear here in the support plate. between the support plate by the rod head. No? So to visualize this problem, so we can draw it in this kind of orientation. So this is the rod head, this is the rod head, and this is the support plate. No? So what happens is that this rod head will pass through to the support plate. So the support plate will be chipped off and it will be look like this. So it's another small cylinder, but we have to determine again the surface area. So the diameter of this small cylinder is also equal to the diameter of the rod head. Basically, yun yung dumaan or yung nag-pass through doon sa support plate. So, the diameter of the rod head was 30 millimeters. So, from this, we will be able to get the radius of the circle. So, the question here, what will be the thickness to be considered? Will it be the thickness of the rod head or the thickness of the support plate? Of course, this again, no, from the definition of the punching shear, so the rod head will pass through. So it means the whole thickness of the support plate will be cut off. So we have to consider the thickness of the support plate B, which is equal to 12 millimeters. So we will use 12 millimeters. So the punching shear is again wrapped around this small cylinder. So again, with our formula, V is equal to P, which is 39,760.78. And then the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi. Radius is 30 over 2. And then height is 12 millimeters. So inputting this in our calculators, we have 35.16 megapascal. So there you have it, no? An example wherein a normal stress, a shear stress, a punching shear stress, a bearing stress is present at a one singular problem. So all in all, you have to practice. You have to practice yourself visualizing different types of problem, different variation of problems for you to able to solve this easily. As you can see, at first glance, the problem seems to be complicated. However, with advanced visualization, you can see that the solution is a very short or very straightforward solution. So I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you.